The report said I sexually harassed 11 women. That was the headline people heard and saw and reacted to. The reaction was outrage. It should have been. However, it was also false.
Let's bring in Republican New York State Assembly member Mike Lawler. Assemblyman Lawler had previously called for Governor Andrew Cuomo's resignation. You heard what he said there, and he said it on a couple of occasions, that the most serious allegations have no credible basis in fact, that all of the allegations are false. And then he went on to say, well, I did do a bunch of this stuff, but I didn't mean it. As we pointed out, you've been calling for him to step down for a long time. What did you make of what he said today?
Well, I think what we saw, John, was the 5 stages of grief play out in a matter of minutes. And the governor denied many of the allegations. He had his attorney go out and slam and victim shame the 11 women. But ultimately, he came to accept the fact that he had no longer enjoyed the support of my colleagues in government or the people of the state of New York to govern. And so I am grateful that he actually showed a little bit of a moniker of decency by resigning today, effective 14 days from now. But it's important that we move forward as a state. And it was obvious to everyone, except maybe the governor, that we couldn't do it with him at the helm anymore.
What is the point, though, of having your attorney go out ahead of you resigning and deliver remarks trying to discredit the allegations against you if you plan to just step down, 40 or so minutes later? Why do that?
Well, I think he does recognize that he is facing the potential of criminal charges. Even though he did fail the bar a number of times, he was the Attorney General of the state of New York, so even he understands there's some legal jeopardy here. And I think the reality is that the criminal investigations will continue with respect to the most egregious of the sexual assault allegations, as well as the investigation by the Department of Justice into the nursing homes and the Attorney General into the $5.1 million blood money book deal that he got. So I think he has a lot of legal jeopardy ahead of him, and I think he is trying to get ahead of that as best he can by discrediting the victims here, and also to resign now rather than be impeached so that New York State has to pay many of these legal bills going forward.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that because he portrayed this, Assemblyman, as a selfless act. I'm going to throw myself on the sword in order to save New York State from all of this messiness that my political rivals are about to unleash upon me and, by virtue of that, upon the voters of the state of New York. But he can count votes like anybody can, and he knew that it looked like there was enough support in the New York State Assembly, 76 is all it took, for him to get shown the door by the Assembly. So do you think he chose what for him was the most politically expedient way out, a la Richard Nixon back in the early 1970s?
If anybody believes this was a selfless act, I have a bridge to rename for you just up the Hudson. Andrew Cuomo didn't do this selflessly for the people of the state of New York. He did this for himself. And ultimately, though, he needed to go. And I think he does recognize that the support was just not there. And we had the votes to impeach him. The evidence was there. The Attorney General's report was damning, and it was corroborated by real-time evidence. The women were to be believed because the evidence was there. And I think the governor finally came to that realization in the last few days.
Yeah, he's got the Brooklyn Bridge in the scene behind him. So which bridge are you selling?
I'm talking about the Tappan Zee Bridge. We're going to rename it when we get him out of office in 14 days.
There you go.